Hello and welcome to this lecture. We're focusing today on customer experience. It's a fairly recent addition to the marketing theory, and it really tries to capture the entirety of a customer's experience with a particular company or brand. And today we're obviously going to focus in on the airline industry. Looking at an overview, we're starting off thinking about the conundrum, which is customers really like great service but really don't want to pay for it, and that is particularly true in the airline industry. So passengers want the best customized travel experience that they can get, but they want to pay low-cost carrier prices, which is something that all airlines at the moment are trying to struggle with. So we're going to so in our discussion we need to think about what parts of our service we can surprise, delight, make reward to our customers without a high cost associated with it. So what is customer experience? It incorporates the entirety of a customer's experience with a particular brand, and it incorporates things like what we know about a particular brand, cognitive, how we feel about a particular brand, affective, how we experience the brand in terms of our senses, what we see, what we feel, what we smell, what we touch, and also a behavioral aspect, whether we buy the product or not. And then we'll look at how we might be able to measure a customer's experience with us. And we'll look at the network product cabin triangle, which is types of network, types of products, and different types of crew service. And then we'll try and come up with a strategy for any airline to develop their customer experience. Over the years, I've asked students what they consider to be good service, and this is a word cloud which represents what people have told us in an unprompted way. And that includes good cuisine, catering, it includes good attitude of the crew, it includes the seat and how comfortable it is, it includes in-flight entertainment systems, it includes punctuality, and it includes the price of the product, and whether you get baggage service and a whole bunch of other things. Basically, it's everything. If we look back to 1989, Jan Carlson, who was the chief executive of SAS, wrote a book called Moments of Truth, where he talked about touch points as a customer meets different parts of your organization through the experience. And I think he came up with 14 experiences that you're likely to have as an airline customer. And each of those, he argued, was an opportunity to thrill, delight, and differentiate your product from your competitors. So it's the cumulative impact of all those multiple touch points. And as I've already said, customer experience is the total aggregation of cognitive, affective, sensory, behavioral, consumer responses during the entirety of the consumption process. That's pre-purchase, purchase, consumption, and post-purchase stages. And as always, as I talk about when I talk about airline customers, airline passengers, customer to me might be a misnomer, because you may not be the customer if you're not paying for a particular service. So who is the customer is the person who buys the product. The consumer is the person who travels, which may be a family member, it may be a family group, it may be a business traveller, etc. And I'll refer back to the marketing communication model that we used in one of the other lectures, which looks at cognitive stages, affective stages, and behavioural stages. So here, customer experience really follows the same sort of model. Do we capture attention? Do we get interest? Do we get desire? Do we get action, i.e. buying the ticket? And this is a really big model, a holistic model about buyer behavior from back in the last century. But I'm going to bring your attention to, and here we're looking at just how customers evaluate alternatives. Start off by looking into our memory and what we think about particular brands, which is very similar to the cognitive stage in customer experience. We have attitudes towards how we evaluate different airlines, how we feel, so that affective stage. And obviously, our behavioral aspect is which airline we pick. So it's really important that when we look at airline marketing, we remember that it's perishable. So if it's perishable, what can we take away as a customer? It's memories. So are we creating memories that customers can look back on in a positive way? So here we're looking at different touch points, opportunities to thrill and delight. The airline service is intangible, so the colour, feel, touch and smell of the airline is important. So our customer experience development should think about the colours and designs of our aircraft, the feel of the surfaces that customers come in touch with, and how the aircraft environment smells. Let's think about variability of service provision. We've got customers are involved in the production. So potentially the airline will need to educate the customer about how to engage with the product. I remember using a particular business class seat which was so complex the cabin crew had to come round and teach each customer how to use it. It's stuck in my memory, so maybe that's a good thing. Because at the end of the day, it's quite difficult for customers to evaluate what they took away from their airline service. You pay a high price. Did you feel that you got the value from that? So how does customer experience dovetail with our marketing mix? Now, we've already talked about product, price, promotion, and place. Now, the most obvious alignment with customer experience is to product. For services marketing, a number of people have suggested we incorporate physical evidence, people and process into the marketing mix. And that, I think, is where customer experience begins to dovetail into this 7Ps marketing mix model. So what are the disciplines that you will need as you develop your customer experience? So here you're managing a customer's cross-channel experience. That means how they deal with you through the web, through the app, at the airport, on board the aircraft, and subsequent email correspondence, etc. And it's all those interactions with the company. So your strategy needs to be based around what your customers experience. So think about that. Here you're trying to capture the voice of the customer. You're trying to use the different touch points that they have had to try and understand what value they got out of your product. And if you do this enough, you may be able to learn and anticipate future needs. And one of the ways you might do that is through survey work. It may be through having group discussions with customers. It may be sitting at the aircraft and watching your customers, or it may be through sentiment analysis, through their correspondence and postings on social media. It's about design, and here we may be focusing on the product, the people, and the process elements of the marketing mix, particularly the people. So here you've got an example of Southwest Airlines handing out peanuts and the cabin crew engaging with the customers in a very friendly, engaging way. By comparison, you've got Singapore Airlines with their very formal and deferential service, which many people really think is one of the best customer experiences of any of the airlines. So then you look to measurement, and I've already talked a little bit about that, but you can measure through surveys with NPS. NPS being the Net Promoter Score. How likely of all of your customers, what proportion of them are likely to promote you to their family and friends? You may look at brand equity, and in one of the other lectures you've got an assessment of brand equity, and also real-time sentiment. Governance is clearly there. How do you manage the airline? But also culture. What is our culture? And, the extremes of Southwest Airlines to Singapore Airlines, where both of them do fantastic customer experience. Which is right for for your customers, what aligns well to your airline. One of the things that you can do is map the journey of the customer from the airport to departure, on board, arrival, destination, and back home. And what I've included in the lecture pack is a template that you can use and you can develop for your own examples. This is an example of different types of ways of measuring feelings and sentiment, the effective part of the experience, and particularly Net Promoter Score. I started this lecture talking about customers wanting the best possible experience at a low-cost carrier price. And can we use customer experience to outweigh the price that they pay for the airline? And something that you should consider, and this is from a PhD that we supervised here at Cranfield, was looking at the different elements of service: tangibility, reliability, responsiveness, assuring the customer, and empathy. Service quality, you can go and read up about ServQual and AirQual in your literature, and how that aligns, how service quality aligns with customer satisfaction. And Michel Alatabi found that there was a positive correlation, the positive relationship between service quality and customer satisfaction. And together, that led to both attitudinal loyalty and behavioral loyalty. And behavioral loyalty looked at repurchase intention, complaint behavior reductions, and word of mouth promotion. So service quality and customer experience can deliver a positive thing that can be used to offset the ongoing sort of demand by customers for lower and lower prices. In the next stage, I want to talk about the network, product, and service triangle. I started off by saying customers don't really know what service is. They know what it looks like, what it feels like, but that doesn't really help us when we come to trying to design for it. So I've come up with this little triangle to help as a sort of a bit of a sort of an aid memoir to try and help us think about designing products. So obviously, your product, an airline's product, is the network that it provides. If you do not have a route, if you do not have an airline service from where a customer wants to go to where a customer wants to go, you're not in that market. So the network is really important, and we find different examples. Wizz is basically connecting lots of different European airport points together. Lufthansa, by comparison, is a hub airline connecting within Europe, but also long haul to many long haul destinations. And then you have a example of a niche airline, which in this case is TAP Portugal, where it's basically offering services to bring people from Europe, particularly to the Portuguese-speaking parts of South America. So how you design a network is a really important part of the customer experience. Then look at product. Do we want this sort of food or this sort of food? Oh dear. This sort of lie flat bed or very dense seating that we experience on Ryanair. What we really don't want is cabin crew who aren't engaged. So while the network will be pretty much predefined by your airline, and you can design product, the hard parts, the cuisine, the seats, the in-flight entertainment, it's really in the cabin crew service element where you can really distinguish and differentiate your products. So is your airline service, cabin crew service, unique and different? We've already talked about Singapore Airlines, and it always seems to be at the top of cabin crew service year on year. And this is the cabin crew of their subsidiary Scoot. Very different feel but you can expect a different experience, but one that is designed to be excellent, because that's how Singapore Airlines sort of designs their experiences anyway. And it's important because when we ask customers how they feel about a carrier, behind on-time performance, which airlines have obviously some control but not full control, and the quality of their aircraft, it's the interaction with staff that makes customers feel most about your airline. That's coming back to that effective element of customer experience. In terms of design, we're here trying to think about how we can express our culture, our feel, our sense of what our airline is about, in terms of how we design our lounges, our aircraft, our seats, etc. For example, this is Emirates Lounge at Dubai. This is Virgin Atlantic's in Heathrow. Both are excellent and both have a very different feel, which are aligned to the culture and the design of those airlines. Providing physical evidence of a person's experience can also help to provide a reminder of the service. And if you've given a good service, a good experience, that provides those memories, ties into that what we know and what we feel about our customer, what we know and what we feel about our brand. And amenities packs are a really good way of doing that. And I would argue that in this case, Hong Kong Airlines amenities pack is more aligned to the brand itself, whereas Emirates is fairly generic. And I'd argue that many airlines have a very champagne or magnolia or beige feel to their aircraft. It's quite difficult to differentiate between airlines in the cabin because many of them look and feel very similar. That is partly a function of airlines buy somewhat standardized interiors from their OEMs and also seat manufacturers, and seat manufacturers provide many of the same seats to different airlines. But it's also the design colors, and there is no reason why an airline has to adopt very neutral colors, but they tend to do it because of universality. It doesn't offend people, with the odd exception. And I'll leave it to you to decide what you think is good and what you think is bad. Right, I've spoken too much. I hope this mini lecture supports what we do in class, and I look forward to seeing you in the classroom.